Golfers, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to talk about winter golf here in the UK. It's absolutely tropical, it's not reached over 5 degrees, mud is up to our knees. If you've stumbled across my channel for the first time, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. Every time I upload a video you'll receive a notification, boom, that tip will be related to any department of the game. What we see here is we've got a 30-yard pitch shot, we're off soft ground, there's a lot of mud. Issue number one I see on a regular basis is a lot of golfers I'll use too much of the leading edge off soft ground. We need to establish using a little bit more of the bounce. Don't want to hit too much down with pitch shots here when it's soft ground. We want to use a little bit more of the bounce. How do we achieve that? The biggest issue I see to start off with, issue number one, is the position of the golf ball gets a little bit too far back in conjunction with the middle of our stance. So a baseline target is the ball position should just be in the middle of our stance, depending on what flight shot we want to achieve. If we want to hit a little bit lower, you might add a little bit more lean in the shaft. If you want to hit a little bit higher, the ball position will go marginally further forward. You see is a lot of golfers will get the position of the golf ball off your right foot, so too far back. Further back we move the ball position in our stance, the more the handle is going to lean forward, so the ball position gets too far back, the grip end of the club goes too far forward. This club's got 10 degrees of bounce. Anytime I move the golf ball back in my stance, that's going to take bounce off the club. It's going to encourage the leading edge to dig into the ground. What happens from there? This 54 degrees of loft on the club. Anytime I move the golf ball back and anytime I lean the handle forward, we take loft off the golf club. So that 54 degrees of loft, about 35 degrees, that takes bounce off the club. Drive the leading edge into the ground. We'll start to launch a little bit lower. Contact will be slightly higher in the face. We want the club back. The club face gets really close in comparison to where the ground is. So we want the club back, the left wrist. If you think about the knuckles on your left wrist, any time that the left wrist goes down in a flex position, so the knuckles on the left hand go towards the ground, that's going to start to close the club face. Where the back of the left wrist goes too much down towards the ground, club face gets really closed, and when the club face gets really closed, that's going to do two things. It's going to take loft off the club and it's also going to reduce the bounce. So if the club face is relatively closed on the way back, we're going to have to add that loft as a compensation move at impact to try and add that loft that we've taken off the club. So if the club face gets really closed on the way back, we're going to drive the leading edge into the ground. Ball position too far back, we'll get shots like this. As you can see from there, the greenkeeper will not be happy. I've taken a divot in winter, disastrous. So how do you eradicate that? The thing you need to do is just have a think about what you're doing, okay? Soft ground, the further back I move the ball position in my stance, the more the club's going to come down steeper. I'm going to dig the leading edge too much into the ground, so I'm exposing too much of the leading edge into the ground. What you need to do to start off is just get the ball position a little bit more in the middle of your stance. So don't have the ball position too far back where it's adjacent to your right foot. Get the ball position a little bit more underneath the middle of your sternum. Ball position a little bit more forward in your stance, so the ball position is underneath your sternum. So ball position a little bit further forward, the club's going to come in a little bit shallower, but just think about where the grip end of the club is at impact. So anytime that we take loft off the club, we're going to drag the club forward and down. So the grip end of the club is going to go down and forwards a little bit too abruptly. As you can see from there, the grip gets too far ahead of the club head. What we want to feel like we're doing at impact, the grip end of the club isn't getting too far forward where we create too much lag, too much compression, too much forward shaft lean. Club head is overtaking the hand, so just a few swings establishing that, so we're not dragging the grip end of the club forward. We want to feel like we're bouncing this golf club off the ground. So we're using a little bit more of the trailing edge of the club, which is the back edge instead of the leading edge. We're going to bounce the back edge of the club off the ground. So just take some swings, right-handed swings only. Ball position's a little bit more in the middle of stance, underneath the sternum is another good baseline. If you're still struggling with that, if the club's still coming in a little bit too steeply, just get the ball position off your left armpit. Left foot's going to open, left knee's going to open. I think I'm going to sit a little bit more into my left side. What I'm going to feel from here is the ball position's a little bit further forward in comparison to where it was before. I'm going to feel like I flare my left foot open and my left knee open. From here, I'm going to feel like my left knee sits over my left foot. So flare the left foot open, flare the left knee open. I'm going to feel like my left knee sits in the middle of my left foot. So my left hip should sit slightly lower. Left hip's a little bit lower. I feel like everything sinks into my left side. My left foot's an anchor and all my weight is sitting in to that left side. I should feel like my left leg's really heavy, my right leg should feel really light. That's just going to establish a little bit more weight into this front foot, and it's also, anytime that I move weight into my left foot, my sternum is going to get ahead of the golf ball. So that's getting the chest a little bit more open at address, it's getting my weight a little bit more into my left side. What we're going to do from here, as you swing the club back, we're not getting the club face severely closed. The initial feeling from here, as we swing the club back, we're going to try and get the club face a little bit more open. What we need to do to create a different result, instead of having your right hand too far underneath the club, which we establish as a strong grip, you're going to take your right hand and you create a V between the thumb and your forefinger. When I get the grip too strong, that V points outside right shoulder. So put your right hand on the club, this V should now feel like it points towards the middle of your chest, if not towards your left shoulder. That's going to weaken your right hand grip, and that's going to allow you to open the club face a little bit more in the back. So left-handed swings only, and the only feeling from here, that knuckles, instead of towards the ground, knuckles are going to face towards the sky. So knuckles towards the sky. Automatically, if I create a little bit more hinge in this left wrist, a little bit more cup in, that's going to create my right palm to feel like it's a little bit more towards the sky. If I close the club face, my right palm goes too much down towards the ground. Swing the club back, feel like right palm's more towards the sky. Automatically, as soon as that right palm goes towards the sky, that's going to allow that left wrist to cup. The right palm's a little bit more pointing towards the sky, so feel like you're catching raindrops. That's another great analogy. So weaker right hand grip, swing the club back, we're going to open up that club face of right palm towards the sky. Release the club, right palm towards the sky, grip end of the club pointing back towards the middle of my belt buckle. So grip end of the club to point back towards the middle of my belt buckle, palm more towards the sky, grip end of the club instead of working down and left. I almost feel like my left shoulder's working up and back through impact. It's going to contribute to the golf club working up and left through impact. So as soon as the grip works up and left, that's going to encourage us to use a little bit more of the bounce. I feel like the club goes around my left pocket, so as I release the club, left shoulder's going up and back. So left shoulder's going to work up and back, and the grip end of the club is going to work up and left through impact. Shoulder working up and back, grip end of the club working up and left, and right palm is facing the sky. As you can see from there, I'm just grazing the grass. If you've got any thoughts regarding that video, post your comments below with what's your golfing goals in 2024. Smash that like button. The more likes the video gets, the more exposure the video gets, and also the more golfers I can help in the long run.